Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and this is another short video in a series, broad video series now on my YouTube channel, Rank Success, and this one I'm calling it Questions to Consider. And the reason I'm calling it that is because one of the current consistent themes that I get contacted for is people wanting to talk through questions, areas, evidence, if you like, for promotion, and how those surface. And I think what people are often trying to articulate is the degree of uncertainty that candidates feel when they're going for a promotion selection process. There's a theme of integrity around it because you can't possibly know what questions you're going to be asked. And there's certainly no use in trying to ask colleagues and friends. You can ask colleagues and friends from previous processes, but it's not really a wise strategy to ask people who are currently going through a process that you're going to go through as well, because yes, there's an integrity issue there, but also it won't do you any good, because often promotion panels and boards have a number of questions that they will go through. So they may have a bank of 20 questions, and they ask different groups or different cohorts of candidates. So let's say you've got 3 weeks of promotion boards, they might rotate those questions. So it's not going to do you any good to actually try and do that. But one of the things I wanted to do in this video is just like, let's get talking about it for what it's worth. This is free, so you can turn me off at any time. The point being really is I just wanted to talk about some questions, and I'll do another one around evidence that you might be thinking or wondering what evidence you can offer, and I'll do that subsequent to this video. But this is a roundabout questions really, and just a reminder that if you don't want to listen to me, my Dorset Bromley tones, or you haven't got time, or you're on your way to work or somewhere else, or you'd rather be rearranging your sock drawer, you can download a digital toolkit from my site, or a 4-hour masterclass, or a bundle of all those products, and you can also get 20% off if you use the code RSGuides20. So this one's called Questions to Consider, and I'm just going to pitch and pose some questions that you may want to write these down, because they may arise from time to time across the UK, across promotion selection processes. Some of them have. And again, you can mix and match and blend these videos because they're not linear, they're not focused on particular set themes. You can mix and match them all. You can sit down and spend, if you can stand listening to me for various periods of time, you can sit down and spend hours writing down notes, insights, and then if you've got any questions, send me an email and I'll be happy to respond to them if I can, if I'm available. Okay, so these are just some of the questions. The reason I'm kind of doing this is because one of the best ways to prepare for a challenge or an opportunity, such as a promotion board, is to put yourself in that environment. Put yourself, and you'll find in my digital guides, you'll find a question bank of promotion questions aligned to the competencies, so the CBF competencies and values, with some detailed examples against them, so that you can kind of really get your teeth into this and go through. But today this is just about pitching up some questions, and for me to kind of offer some insights, and for you to kind of write them down if you want to, and just to reflect on them. And reflecting is a great way of learning, rather than kind of dealing with stuff and eating it up like Pac-Man as you go along, and not having the time to stop and consider and think and reflect. And thinking through these issues is really important. Okay, so questions to consider then. Some of the questions you might get asked: describe the leadership that you will need to provide. And that pregnant pause there is really important, because you're probably going, oh, that wasn't a question for starters, that was like, tell us. Describe the leadership that you will need to provide. So that's making an assumption, a presumption, and you've come prepared. You've come to this interview ready, and that's all about the mindset. And I would encourage you to definitely go prepared for a conversation. And there's a whole difference between walking into a promotion board unprepared and then actually walking into a promotion board thinking to yourself, I don't suggest you say it for a moment, but thinking to yourself, okay, which of you have got questions for my answers? Because you've done such a depth and breadth of preparation that you're actually in there and you're intrigued genuinely, viscerally, you're intrigued to know what it is you're going to be asked that's going to trouble you in any great way, because you should be going at that level of presentation. So describe the leadership that you'll need to provide. And they say very little with that instruction. That opportunity you've got now is to talk for 5 to 6 to 7 minutes about the leadership that you think or believe you need to provide in policing going forward. So again, I've done various videos on this. It's all detailed in my promotion toolkits, but very much talking about the fact that leadership for people, performance and change is part of the sergeant, inspector, chief inspector's role. Different styles of leadership, so transactional, shut up, do as you're told, jump, now. Where does that sit in policing? It does. You choose where that sits. Do you use that leadership style? If so, how, when, how often? Transformational leadership, that's how cops like to be led. I've done videos on this. That's about being supportive, empowering. Coaching and mentoring style, College of Policing want more coaching and mentoring within leadership. Laissez-faire, hands-off style leadership. When might that be relevant in policing? Is it in when have you used those styles? Which of those styles do you need to include in your leadership? Get comfortable with talking about you as a leader, talking for 5 minutes about your own leadership and what you can offer the police service, some of the challenges facing the police service, how you propose to lead your teams through difficult and challenging times. So, own that space. That's simply a trigger to release your response, if you like. Okay, so describe the leadership that you'll need to provide. That could be an introduction question or topic by a board. Any of these could be. And those are the questions that should really be kind of wheeled in on a silver tray, on a velvet cushion, with a pink bow on them, with hundreds of thousands sprinkled all over the top, with a cherry on top. Because if you go in as a prepared candidate, you can actually hit the ground running. And you should be at a state of preparation to be able to at least respond meaningfully to something like that. What can you tell us about the role of sergeant or inspector or chief inspector? Slam dunk in basketball terms, that's a slam dunk question. Because if you're going into a promotion selection process and you cannot meaningfully respond to that, then, you might argue you don't deserve to pass. And yet, vast cohorts of people do exactly that. They walk into a promotion board and they may be able to talk about one element or one dimension of the sergeant's role or inspector's role or chief inspector's role. But the way you respond to that question, and there are lots of tips and guidance and support offered in my digital guides and toolkits and 4-hour masterclass to more than equip you to be able to bat that question right out of the ballpark and to score highly on it. So role-based questions are going to feature in there in some way. Arguably they're all role-based questions, but some of them are more bespoke than others. What leadership style have you adopted? So it's very much for people who perhaps aren't acting or tempering. You don't have to be acting or tempering. You'll see lots of testimonials on my page, on my site, from people who have not done acting or temporary. But what leadership style have you adopted is a bit more broader, it's a bit inclusive, a bit more inclusive around how do you lead? Tell us a bit about your leadership style. And those of you that have read my blogs recently, I did a recent blog called Promotion Booby Trap Questions, and that is a booby trap question. What leadership style have you adopted? So go and have a read of that blog and you'll see why it's a booby trap question. One of the things you least expect to experience when you put yourself forward for a promotion selection process is to kind of have to look out for booby trap questions. They're not intended that way. It's just that you perceive them that way if you're unprepared. If you're prepared, you'll know that that question is luring you down a road of one leadership style. And guess what? As a aspiring sergeant, inspector, chief inspector candidate, there's no such thing as one leadership style. And often you may adopt different leadership styles in different situations just in one day at work. So don't fall into that trap, and have a look at the blog in relation to that. Another biggie, could you tell us a bit about what values you will bring to the role? And that is a ginormous question. If you haven't done any work around, some introspective work around you, what you believe about the world, what you believe about policing, how your own personal values mesh with the values of policing, so the CVF values, integrity, transparency, impartiality and public service. Well, they are just 4. They are the 4 that you will be assessed on. However, there are others, lots of others: honesty, fairness, respect, trust, leadership's a value. You know, do some work around values and you'll be match fit to answer those kind of questions. Some of the ones you can really expect to do, certainly as a kind of introduction one: come in, sit down on the chair. You know, you don't want a hard baller or a low baller. A really hard question, there's no such thing. Just remember that if you're prepared. But some of the easier ones, just to kind of help you settle in, are: what have you done to prepare yourself for the role? That's fair. What have you done? So that alludes to your CPD. CPD is really important. If you haven't done anything for your own CPD, you're unlikely to help develop other people, and you won't show that awareness of that question and the importance of it. Again, I've done a blog called The Killer Question, and that's about CPD. And it's the killer question because if you can't respond to that question meaningfully, around how you've developed yourself and how you intend to develop other people, or what you're doing to develop other people, then it's a killer question because it's killed all your chances of getting promoted. And what have you done to make yourself a better leader? So again, a question on the same theme, and some of these questions can be kind of the same question in different clothes, but all of it cuts to the state of preparedness and preparation that you've actually made that commitment to yourself to do. The reality, of course, is this is hard to do in 2 or 3 weeks. If you had 2 or 3 weeks completely, not so hard to do. But often people try and turn around and get ready for a match fit for a promotion process in 2-3 weeks, and they're led by events. They are literally led by the nose by events instead of planning. And of course, that's part of the role: planning and preparation, particularly for inspectors and above. I mean, I'm going to stop there because I'm trying to keep these videos at under 15 minutes, so I'm up to nearly 13 now. The main point really here is there are lots of questions in my digital promotion toolkits. There's a question bank. You've got some there. You can ask around, and before you know it, you've got a whole mock board there. You've probably got 5, 6, 7 mock boards, the content to be able to run your own mock boards with a friend or a colleague or a loved one who can sit down with you and go through some of these questions and give you the opportunity to put yourself in that space, in that kind of hot spot, if you like, bit of role play, and just concentrate on elevating your ability to respond conversationally and meaningfully to these questions. Because none of them are hard, but they are hard if you walk in and it's the first time you've ever heard them, and you're trying to kind of panic and you're whizzing around inside your head to find the answers, where in fact there are structures, there are models, there are options for you to consider to help structure your thinking and therefore help structure meaningful verbal responses. And when you can do that, you relax a little bit more. And when you relax a little bit more, the board pick up on it and they'll go, okay, this person is clearly prepared. What's coming out of their mouth matches what we're seeing and what we know. And actually we are inspired, we're reassured that when we make that risk decision to promote this individual, we're making the right decision on behalf of the organisation. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I will be doing some other videos. As I said, I'll do the other one around some evidence to follow this one. And until next time, I wish you all the best. Stay safe. I'll see you again.